All right, everybody.
Warming up.
Welcome back to the Ask Coach Mike show.
Very exciting show.
Okay, guys. So tonight we have a great guest. Very excited to have him. Coach Mike, welcome back. Good to
Thank
have you
you.
back. And let me share a quick picture before we get this started.
And we're
All
live.
right.
Here we
This
go.
is our guest, Mr. Ken Herrmann. And
What a picture.
guys, the beauty of who we're introducing tonight and having on for a few minutes is
You didn't know that was going to be on, did you, Ken?
No, not at
he's
all.
he's truly a servant leader.
Yeah.
I played a little bit this past weekend in Griffin, the Atlanta Open, and I had a booth, not far from courts. And this gentleman was, certainly a servant leader. He was drying courts. He was handing out iced tea to the volunteers, the referees, the sponsors. Just an amazing guy, and we're proud to have him on tonight. So, Ken Herrmann, welcome, and thank you
Yes,
so much for
thank you
joining
very
me.
much, Ken.
Great to be here, guys. I'll get Melissa McCurley or somebody for taking that photo of me. Anyway, the apron fit pretty well. It worked. It worked great. If you notice that tray, I was like wobbling the tray because everyone kept grabbing the tea from me.
Nice big cafeteria tray.
That's
Well,
right.
if things don't work out on the tour, it looks like you could probably be a waiter somewhere.
Exactly right. Definitely.
Hey, Kenny, I want to tell you, so many of the shows are about just the sport of pickleball. And I just wanted to have a show about the people of pickleball and how they're contributing and how it's changed their life. And I always have a first question that Jeff will do all the talking. But I want to let you know, character of a person to us is the very most important thing. And somebody sent me a text about 15 minutes ago about you, Ken, that I'll wait till part of the show and I want to bring it up.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach.
Yeah.
So, Ken, we got to start where we always start. And this is Coach Mike's favorite question. How did pickleball find you? I know I see tennis in your background.
Yeah.
Tell us your pickleball story.
So that's a great question. Tennis has been my whole background from juniors nationally to collegiate down in Texas, and just being fortunate to run clubs and also coaching at some pretty high levels in tennis. I had owned a club in the Chicagoland suburbs and sold the club, and then was actually looking to put a new club up in the Evanston area where Northwestern is. And through my research of going through SBA loans and putting up the whole venue, Wilson has their headquarters down here in Chicago. And in meeting with one of the main people of Team Wilson, I showed them the blueprint model and all the things that were involved with putting up this venue. And I said, okay, do I have everything in here I need? And he looked at me and goes, you don't have pickleball courts in there. And I'm like, this is probably back in 2018. What are you talking pickleball? And when he says, you have no idea, this sport is coming up here and you need to get yourself involved and learn how to start playing or maybe become certified and start teaching. So just as the business person in me did, I started just, fascinated about pickleball. Where did it start? Where is it most popular? The USAPA organization. And through there, decided to put pickleball courts in the facility that I was getting close to getting ready to put up. And one thing just led it right after another to where all of a sudden the facility went off to another direction, and now I'm running the tour full time. So that's kind of where my story came in. I started playing competitively as a player and got certified, and then started enjoying it as much, and just the excitement that it brings as a family sport to everybody.
Sure. How long ago was that?
Literally back in probably the spring of 2018 is when this all kind of came exposed to me. And then here we are, 2021, already kind of almost finishing our first full year in a COVID world of the tour. And we got almost a quarter of a year in last year when we were able to reopen things in COVID. So it's been quite a bit all of a sudden, no doubt.
Sure, to get started and then get stopped right away.
Yeah, definitely with that.
What a roller coaster. That's a great story. So you just finished the Atlanta Open. I was privileged to be there. I had two great partners, had a lot of fun. A beautiful venue. I know that hasn't been around that long. I mean, I talked to a couple people and they said, I think you were impressed with the number of volunteers they had. You always have great referees, again, a wonderful venue. And there were some weather challenges. Just take a few minutes and talk about that event, if you will, Ken.
Well, sure. So this event started to come to fruition well over a year or so ago. I knew I wanted to have my own event in the Atlanta metro area, and was recommended this facility, which is about 25 minutes away from the airport. Melissa McCurley, who's really kind of been a main advisor to the APP Tour, and Byron Frezzo, along with a gentleman named Edward Hector, had all suggested that I take a look at this venue in Griffin. And then last year went down there, visited with the team, and just fell in love with it. The support of any tournament comes from the base roots, which is always that great volunteer, that great
absolutely
event.
Correct. Yeah.
And you're only as good as your volunteer list and as your local ambassadors. And I think that was probably a big decision of mine with working closer with USA Pickleball, with becoming the official Pro Tour partner, was just continuing to have that relationship with all my district ambassadors and the referees. Those referees are few and far between, and as the sport is growing, the demand for referees is even in greater demand. Mm-hmm. So it's awesome to have the top support and priority to get as many referees as we can into our events, and hopefully they feel we're treating them well, and they'll continue to come back and support us, because the APP cannot survive without the referees and the volunteers.
Well, we had Byron on a few weeks ago. He's just an amazing guy, and somebody I know you hold in the highest of esteem.
Sure.
I do. We just had dinner the other night, our closing dinner after we pack it. Every time we get done with the tour stop, the big van is there, and it's always Byron, myself, and my COO, Terry Hartley, and maybe a couple other people, and everyone's the venue, and we're in the dark loading up the van, and Byron has it down to a science. He knows where every box goes, every monitor, every APP store. He's got everything in there, and we can crank that thing out there. As a matter of fact, we got it done about 8:30 the other night, right before another storm of rain clouds came in. So he certainly is a trusted friend and advisor, and just can't thank both him and Marcia for everything that they've contributed with the tour.
What you need is another dozen of that couple.
I do, but I think I've got pretty good couples there. A terrific lady by the name of Dana Joseph has been on this journey from day one, and how about the whole broadcast team? I mean, that was just a vision of what I took to Kyle Salenko and Laura McLaughlin. I said, I really want to do pickleball this way, and how can we create this atmosphere, this environment that we can bring, all this back home to the home audience. And these folks have been with me really since day one. I'm very loyal to them, no doubt.
She's such a good fit. She's very good at what she does.
Yeah.
Well, you brought up the referees. You talked a little bit about it. What's interesting to me is that, I know crazy guys like me in their 50s still have that competitive gene in them, obviously not playing the game at the highest level. But tell me, speak to the referees. You see them, some of the same referees that were in Beer City when we were there, we're here this weekend. We'll be in Hilton Head and some of the other stops. Kind of explain about the referees and their excitement to follow the tour like the players do.
Well, I kind of call them my referee groupies, and that's a wonderful saying that I say with them. As the tour goes all across the United States, our goal is to see if we can have a tour stop in every USAPA region. And right now, I think next year we'll be in 11 of the 13 regions. But there was just an amazing group that, we finally made a splash out in Southern California. We weren't able to get out there because of all the COVID out there. Mm-hmm. And there was just a terrific group of referees that we bonded with, and they helped us so much. And then we went to the East Coast with Philadelphia, New Jersey, and then certainly we've been in the Midwest and the Southeast. The referees are just the heart of the tour. I'm trying to come up with additional ways to offset their expenses. And we're really seriously considering right now having all of the APP Tier 1 tour stops next year, all 14 of them be fully sanctioned, just so we can keep trying to, when the referees come, make sure that they're working and, getting them in there as much as they can so that they can make as much as they can to offset some of the expenses that it takes to get to these events.
That's great. Well, the Golden Boy, Scott Golden, and Brett Huddles have both chimed in and just sending
Accolades after
your way,
accolades
for
after
sure.
accolades. Just all good stuff.
Well, good. They're terrific supporters.
Yeah.
All good. Scott is on the road constantly, whether he's commentary for the PPA or playing himself, or also being a huge supporter of his lovely young lady Megan Hall. I had an issue that came up with Scott in New Jersey, and what I appreciated about Scott is he came right to me. He was upset about something that happened. He took it right to me. We had a conversation, and I really respected the fact that he came to me and we were able to kind of talk it out. And he had some valid points that I agreed with him on.
Good. Don't you wish more people would be willing to do that? Life would be so much easier.
They do. And that's one thing that I've tried to do, Coach Mike, is make myself very available at these tournaments. I'm not a guy that's going to sit back in the office and, be in the war room. I always try to make sure that I'm doing the rounds, going to the amateur courts, going to the senior pros courts, making sure everything's okay in the broadcast booth. And just, it sometimes takes me 10 minutes to get from point A to point B, just because I try to make that connection with everybody that I come across and hear their story. Everyone's got a story. Pickleball means something to everybody, regardless.
That's right.
Regardless if you're that 3.0 lady from Topeka, Kansas, or that
Correct.
Southern Florida.
I agree. Having said that, somebody just wrote in a message about you. They were at the tournament and they were watching you, didn't know who you were, and somebody had got injured. I'm just reading it. Somebody got injured on the court.
Okay.
And this person needed help. This guy with a black shirt went and got pickleball juice, brought it back to this person that was injured, stayed and made sure he was okay before he was able to go back out in his 15 minutes. So who does that kind of stuff? Not the guy that sits in the box and tells everybody what to do, the guy that's really involved, that has Class A character, and he's talking about you. So somebody just sent this in just now. Not coincidentally, I'm sure.
Well, that I remember that match very well. He was playing on.
So that guy was you.
That was me that gave him the pickle juice. I don't know if he was happy or not with the pickle juice, but then I checked on him the next day, and I think he got a golden ticket. So I think he recovered well and was able to get back out there. He's a
younger fella, right? Younger fella.
There are so many great players coming into this sport, and there really is that fine line between that 5.0 player and that pro player. But just so much talent, and it's the tour. There's nowhere to hide. I had a conversation with a couple of the pros this past week, and you think 3 or 4 years ago when you had, let's say, a Daniel Moore that would probably not even break a sweat and make it to the semifinals. Now with these tour stops, especially in the men's draw, they're so deep. You got to be ready to go that very first match, or else there could be an upset. And everyone's solid. Everyone's solid getting involved with the sport. The technology that's coming across, from rackets to, the mental toughness, the fitness, so much more. Many of the players you can see them warming up, doing band exercises, working on fitness to improve that on-court performance as best as they can.
So you talk about some of the top players, and this one just kind of came to me. How did Ben Johns end up in Griffin, Georgia on the weekend?
Ben reached out to me and wanted to know if he could get in the tournament. He was not able. He did not reach the deadline, but we've got an agreement with our top sponsors that if a player of theirs doesn't reach the deadline, we'll work with him a little bit and get him in. So Franklin is a huge premier sponsor of APP Tour, and we're real grateful. And hopefully Ben and his brother Colin had a good time and enjoyed the Southern hospitality that the folks down there in Atlanta were able to offer him. I think he's coming to Hilton Head too. I think Ben's at my Hilton Head stop. So
fantastic.
He's been great. He plays both tours and is very supportive. And he is a terrific young man that's going to lead this sport. And what a motivator and influencer on that next group of players that are going to follow him as far as a role model goes.
That's right.
That's fantastic. Yeah, some of the younger kids that I got a chance to watch over the weekend. It's just amazing, at 15 and 16, what they're doing and, where they'll be in a year or two.
There is a whole new generation out there, and I'm so excited about the new partnership with Chicken and Pickle, the APP Next Gen Series. We kick it off the 19th of February at various Chicken and Pickles, and it's really just geared towards that developing players 16 to 23 years old. We've got some prize money in there, and it's just going to be a way to kind of get them rooted and make that transition from being a top junior or a top young athlete into making it into the pro tour.
That's great. So let's talk a little bit. You mentioned Griffin. You know, there are probably a lot of people that play in some of your tournaments and they have no idea what goes into a tournament. Tell us a little bit about the planning. I mean, if you want to expand upon Griffin a little bit, you could do that. You know, you said you started discussions a year ago. You know, how does that get added to the tour? You know, how does some of that all take place, Ken?
You know, that's a great question. When you look to do a venue in all the different cities, my whole objective is how can I keep growing this sport, regardless if it's for pros, senior pros, or amateurs. And I think I've been real consistent with the message out of my mouth. You know, the facilities down in Arizona, California, and Florida, we don't have those facilities, let's say in Philadelphia, or let's say in Boston, or even, you know, in Houston, and visiting with a team in Houston. They're trying to get dedicated courts in Houston right now. So, but just because there's not a dedicated facility there, doesn't mean that you don't show up and try to promote the sport. Let's take a look at New Jersey. They've never had a pro tournament there. We went out there in August and we're floored with the amount of volunteers and the team that was put together out there. They welcomed us with open arms. We had half of the courts were dedicated. We had to tape the other half of the courts. We were able to kind of put a mini stadium up. But everyone left with a smile and everyone had a great experience, got to meet some of the pros, got to have that tour experience for themselves. And then, you know, 2 weeks later went to Philadelphia. So I think between both venues, we were able to put about 1,000 people on that East Coast part of the leg of the tour that we were out there. But there's no doubt a good 9-10 months out minimum is where all the planning goes in. You really have three different types of venues that you can look at when you're looking to put a tour stop. You're either going to be working with the local park district, and there's some great things about working with park districts, and then there's some challenges. You're either looking at a hotel or a resort that you can go in there and have a beautiful hotel and resort, and the players can stay right there with terrific food and beverage service, or you go and you work with that private club. An example of that is the SoCal Classic out of Bobby Riggs this year out in San Diego. So working with the Dawson family as private club owners. So those are the three different areas that you try to bring one in. And I try to spread that around. We've got park districts we're working with. We got private club owners. And next year, we're real excited about going to some of the different hotels and booking those venues as well. All three offer that player a unique experience. And they all three kind of fit the needs of where we're at right now with trying to grow the sport.
That's great. So you talked a little bit about, you know, the facilities. How important to you are limiting the fields and dedicated courts? You know, I know dedicated courts are a huge factor. My partner and I played in a tournament on the way to Atlanta, and there were, you know, courts 2 feet apart and balls were kept rolling from one court to the next. And, you know, it's distracting and it's frankly dangerous. So I know that, you know, the facilities that I've been a part of, that your events, they're dedicated courts and, you know, they have stanchions or they have something in between that certainly helps.
So I think that all boils down to leadership and probably good judgment with, you know, how big can your draws be and what is that experience that you can offer all different levels of players. And I've just tried very hard not to overpack the APP stops. I'm flattered and excited that a lot of them are selling out. Hilton Head has been sold out now for 3 weeks. We've already capped it off there. You know, the Atlanta venue, we could have easily put another 200 people in there and we could have played till 11:30 at night, but that's not what this is all about. And I want that customer to say, gosh, we had a great APP tour experience and I can't wait to come back to the next one. Putting those courts close together, you're right, it is a safety issue. And I think, again, it boils down to judgment and leadership.
I love that. Thank you.
So, Ken, I'm plugging in because there's a lot of comments coming in. I'm going to pick one.
Yeah,
Comes from Gold.
Comments, so I have no idea.
No, we do that on purpose so you can't see them. We get to pick and choose. So the question is, as much as you do and as busy as you are, we know that you work around the clock. The question is, does Ken ever sleep?
Look at these eyes.
Oh boy.
The problem with me is that I'll go to sleep about 11. No, the serious problem with me, this phone never stops ringing. Whether
You know what you can do though? On the side, you can turn it off. You can put it on vibrate. There are options, Ken. You could block everybody.
So my best time of getting work done is between 7 o'clock and midnight because I'm not bothered by anybody. During the day, bam, East Coast, West Coast, whether it's a sponsor, whether it's a player, a venue, a member of the team, somebody having questions or whatever. But at nighttime is always the best time. So I can normally try to get to sleep around midnight, and I'm normally up by about 6 o'clock in the morning and just hit the floor running, just like a lot of people. You know, this is the first year of a tour. It's a business, you know, so there's a lot of decisions that have got to get made. And as we're keep building the APP team, you know, I'm it's not about ego with me. I'm more than happy to delegate and to have good quality people judge and guide the decisions that have got to get made.
Fantastic. That's great. So this year you had, I think, 18 events when 2021 is over. Mm-hmm. And then next year, is it 31?
31 events, and we're going
That's a big number. That's a big number.
It is. We're going overseas, so we're really excited about that too. Working with our allies, with England, with the English Open, the Paris Federation, with the French Open, and then also the Madrid team. So we're really excited.
Wow.
We're partnering with those federations. Those are going to be your biggest tournaments over in Europe. And if we can ever get this sport in the Olympics, it's not all about USA players. It's
not at all.
Sport in Europe. So if I can bring a team of if I can bring a team of top pros from APP over there for a week and just bond with the players, there's no doubt that when we leave a tour, when we leave a venue or a tour stop, the excitement level is at a level 10. Everyone wants to grab a paddle. Everyone wants to play the sport.
Right.
The venue head pros reach back to me and say, wow, our league's filled up. Our clinic's filled up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they want to play in the tournament next year. I look at Indianapolis. We had a terrific Indianapolis Open that I worked with Rick Witzkin on. You know, some people in the Midwest, they're not going to go to Indian Wells and they're not going to go down to the U.S. Open. The Indianapolis Open, that's their U.S. Open tournament. They plan the whole year around that Indianapolis Open, and their clinics and their practicing and their rec games. You know, that's the big thing that they're going for. So it's just important to have every stop really kind of feel like it's their cherry on top of the sundae for them.
That's fantastic. So you brought the international events. How hard logistically will that be, or are you depending on, you know, foreign government bodies to help get those set up for you? And
well, you know, these are tournaments that have already been established, so they've already got teams intact. And
nice.
Now we're just bringing the power of the tour behind us with helping them, you know, promote and grow the sport over in their countries. Let's say, for example, Jay DeVilliers. Number one male player right now on the tour, and just a terrific young man, a hell of a player. You know, he's beloved in France. I go on my live stream and he's got his mom, he's got his cousins, he's got his dad, he's got everyone in Paris watching him play. You know, we can get Jay over this year playing in the French Open. He's going to be such a huge advocate and a huge ambassador, being able to put paddles in people's hands over there, and just warm personality will make a big impact. You know, those are all great qualities that we have with bringing the tour to these venues and just still trying to promote the sport so that we can all one day hopefully have this sport in the Olympics.
That would be wonderful. So I know there's a lot of focus on pros and senior pros, as there should be. Mm-hmm. But tell us your thoughts on the amateurs that play in your tournaments. I mean, it probably is 80 to 90% of the field, is it not?
Sure. Well, it is a big chunk about that. You know, the amateurs have to be given the same experience as the pros and senior pros do. And hopefully my voice has been able to resonate with them. Again, there's not a single person who I don't walk by that I don't shake their hand, introduce myself to them. Mm-hmm. And I just be quiet and I listen to what their story is. Everyone's got a story. Everyone's got that authentic voice that they want to share their passion for the sport. I had a young lady that got moved to the indoor venue. She flew all the way in from North Dakota because it was her first APP event she wanted to play. And she was upset because she didn't win the match. And she got upset because the ref was she didn't see her hold her hand up because she wasn't ready to return serve. And she was just so upset. She came over to the side, grabbed me and started, you know, getting upset, crying, and all I could do for her was just give her a hug and say, it's going to be okay. You know, let's come through this opportunity draw. You can do it. You're a terrific player, and hopefully that warmth and sincerity has come across with some of the amateurs. You're only as good as your last tournament, so it's so important that if you're doing an event, that you've got to treat all three demographics, you know, to the highest ability that you can treat them and show them the proper respect. I had to give a speech last week to the group there in Griffin, and I was just very humbled that many people have allowed the APP team to take them on their pickleball journey. Everyone's got their own journey that they want to go on.
Right.
If I've got a platform here that allows them to take that journey, I am very humbled to be able to do that.
So Ken, some people are tuning in, asking lots of questions, and we're not going to answer all of them. But one of your buddies in Chicago, Kenny Andre, has been asking a bunch of questions. So you could say, Mike, I'm going to pass, or I'm going to answer this one. But one of the pros, Nunnery, is saying there's so many events between APP and PPA, it's spreading the talent pool so thin. What's your view on that? I'm just choosing one of the things that he commented on.
Yeah, so that's a great question.
Okay.
You know, again, it's not about just the pros. It's about the amateurs, the senior pros, and the pros.
Right.
I don't correspond with anybody else when I go and make the tour, except for USA Pickleball. And how could we continue to grow the sport in different regions? I don't think I'm overly saturated in any particular region that's out there. And as that 5-0 player starts to maybe, you know, dip their toes in the lake of the pros, well, you know, if we've got some tier 2 events out there that they want to make that transition and not bump in, let's say, a Rob Nunnery first round, that's a great entryway for them to get into there. Now, I like to think of myself as a tournament director's player. I always try to think, what can I do to put that player in the best position to be able to win their match for that peak performance moment? And oftentimes think about that. You know, some of with the events that are taking place, I don't think these top pros should be playing every single event. They need to take weeks off. Periodization, working on peaking yourself for your big events. And I actually had a conversation with Rob about that. You know, nobody's putting a gun to these pros' head, making them play these events out here. But we have a story to be able to tell. And with a platform with APP and the broadcast capabilities, we want to get those stories out there. Who would have thought that J.W. Johnson would have caught fire this past year and ended up taking the gold medal at TOC? That boy was coming on board at Punta Gorda, maybe weighing around here and around there, but it was the experience, the on-court being able to hit balls, being in that eye of the tiger moment with the press and the media, that he was able to develop his skills. You and I could be sitting down 12 months from now, and there will be 6 new players that have come through APP that are now going to be top 10 players that we had not even heard of. And I got another boy, Dylan Frazier. Talk about great American potential coming through that could maybe one day wear those U.S. Olympic jackets. We've got great ambassadors with JW and Dylan. They lost the finals 2 days ago. You know, where was Dylan Frazier a year ago? That young man has got a terrific supportive family. He's a hell of an athlete. And boy, with Dylan and JW, there's going to be a tremendous amount of talent coming through.
One more quick one. A few people are asking the same question. Does Kenny play pickleball? And if you wanted to, you could answer, how would you feel you might rate yourself? You don't have to answer either one of them.
I was technically rated, I think, a 5-1 or a 5-2. I was playing senior.
Wow.
And was hanging in there and had some good matches, got some good results. I cannot sit here and say that I've got a bronze medal from the U.S. Open or from Nationals, but I was playing events, weighing a couple of rounds. Some of the, I mean,
good.
You know, so I was being very respectful, but I knew what my lane was. But now it's just like impossible. I mean,
of course.
It's impossible to get out.
So there is no rec play for you? There's no time for paddle?
There really isn't. And my sometimes goes in a couple different directions where I go out there and I check out because I'm too worried about this and that.
Okay.
So Ken, tell us, you know, you've got a successful tour going. When you wake up in the morning, what excites you?
Being able to continue to grow the sport, being able to offer that smile on players' faces when they come through the gates. What excites me is continuing to build the team and continuing to build the relationships that I've had with various people. I think those are probably the three biggest things that motivate me the most. And, whatever voice APP or Ken Herrmann or my team can play with helping grow the sport, I think I've been real consistent with that. I said last week when I was talking to the folks, this tour is so much not about me. I was watching Billie Jean King give out the women's trophy at Flushing Meadow last week, and she sat there at New York City on Billie Jean King Court and must have been thinking to herself, back in 1972, I started this tour with 8 or 9 ladies holding that dollar bill up, and now this tour has gone 10 times over what she ever thought it was going to be. Players playing for $2.5 million to win the U.S. Open last week. It probably blows her mind. This tour will be so much bigger than I will ever imagine it being. And 25 years from now, if I'm still here, there'll be a little black and white picture of me in the office somewhere, and another generation will have taken this way beyond what I ever thought it could be. I am just the guy getting this thing started and passing this thing along. Years to come for this sport for this.
We're very grateful. I'm going to tell you, we're very grateful that you are doing all. It's a lot to do. I've done a lot of events, and there's a lot of moving parts, and it's a lot easier for people to find something to complain about than to say, hey, stop and thank those people that are doing all that work. Thank the volunteers. Thank the tournament director. Thank those people that make it happen so you can come and enjoy all these tournaments. And it's kind of like, what can I do to help, as opposed to, what's in it for me? What can I do to help? So this is my little way of trying to give back by having people realize that pickleball has changed a lot of people's lives. It's not just a sport anymore. And you're a perfect example. You were a tennis guy, and now you have a whole new life now.
I've created a new job for myself. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but to your point, every referee that does an APP tour stop, I write a handwritten letter. I put it in there. I give them a little something to show appreciation. I walk up.
Very nice.
I shake their hand and I look them in the eyes and I say, I can't survive without you referees.
True.
All my league tournament coordinators, same exact.
That's right.
Everyone's hand, and just say thank you so much and for your support and giving up time from your family to come out here in 90-degree heat and humidity, to rep pickleball with the sun blazing on your body, and then
that's right.
Trying to grab a quick snack in between. So I am, well aware of all the sacrifices that everyone makes.
Thank you.
Well, Ken, you're a great ambassador for the sport, and we certainly appreciate you. So where do you see pickleball heading over the next few years? Do you see some of the bigger sponsors coming in?
Yeah.
You touched on the Olympics a little bit. What's your viewpoint as we move forward?
I think let's talk at the grassroots level. I mean, isn't it going to be terrific if we continue to get the sport in the elementary schools and at the high school levels, so that maybe one day NCAA will recognize it as a scholarship sport?
Right.
In tennis, when everyone was going to Bollettieri's and going to the academies, parents were investing so much money into their children with hopes of getting that college scholarship to UCLA, Florida, or even Texas. The sport's not there yet in that category. So I think from the grassroots level, from the junior standpoint, getting it in the school system, I think will make big dividends as far as perhaps even if it could one day become a collegiate sport. As far as adults go, continuing to just branch it out to all different levels, that 20, 30, 40 something level. It's a family sport that everyone can play at. And unlike tennis, you can get pretty good pretty quick at it and bond with people right away. So continue for the park district programs to continue to offer pickleball and to find good quality certified instructors that it can go in there and build the program from the grassroots up. Where do I see USA Pickleball? USA Pickleball is going to be a huge leader working with the International Olympic Committee with getting the sport in dealing with all the different organizations across the world. They always come back to USA Pickleball as far as being the leader, the one that they kind of roll themselves after. There's a lot of decisions every day that are getting made through USA Pickleball, and some people can throw darts at them or what have you. But again, they've all got a tremendous amount of passion, and they're all making good choices that are going to continue to grow the sport, that so far, hopefully one day we can see that in the Olympics, and have them really kind of be an inspiration for a lot of the other federations, the Mexican, the Canadian, the Australian Federation, all across the board there.
Amazing. I mean, it's fascinating. Every week, Ken, I see, you know, a new community with 8 new courts, 12 new courts. It's just, you know, I mean, it's mind-boggling to, you know, where this ends up in 10 years. You know, does every minor major city town have, you know, a facility or some sort of courts? It's just really cool to see.
Well, you're absolutely right about that. And who would have thought that, you know, some big cities like Houston, you know, or even New Orleans doesn't have, you know, dedicated venues yet. San Francisco. So these are all places that I've had conversations with where they would like for me to bring a tour stop there, with hopes that then the city council would be motivated to put those courts in there, or take a bank of those tennis courts out and convert those on over to pickleball courts. So I definitely agree with you. I think more of these are going to be coming up and taking place. And it's going to be real interesting to see how the sport continues to grow in 3 main areas, that mid-Atlantic area, up the East Coast, and then also in the Midwest, St. Louis, Kansas City, great venues going up there, and continuing to make that impact up in the Indiana, Illinois, you know, Michigan, and Iowa area.
That's amazing. Any other questions, Coach, that you see there?
Well, 2 of your referees, Ken, have just sent in messages saying that thank you very much, Ken. He actually does provide a note to the referees. So that's verification that it's not just a self-pat on your back, but these guys are actually typing it in. So more people are watching the show. And people are all saying about how more of the players could help by showing what they can do. There's a lot of experienced players, and when newer players come in to a tournament and they don't know where to go or who to ask, offer some help. Tell them, here's the person to go see. This is the place to go. You know, a lot of people are going to tournaments for the first time, and it's a little overwhelming for some of these people. You know, be the seasoned player that's at these tournaments and see what you can do. You know, offer some help to those people when they come in. And just comments like that are coming in. I do want to do a shameless plug. Ken's tournament, APP, will be here in Port St. Lucie at PGA Verona, where I live, where I coach. Having said that, I want as many people to either call me, my number's on there, or send me an email. I have all the information for you to help volunteering, because it is the core of every tournament to have really strong volunteers for a variety of reasons. And Ken knows what I'm talking about. So you can email me at michael@paddleuppickleball.com or call me, and the number's on my cell, and I will send you the information. I want this to be one of the best tournaments that he has on the East Coast of Florida.
Michael, Ivan Barone's tournament, the World Pickleball,
yes,
closes the tour. It's the last stop on that road to Boca. So, you know, Ivan is.
We're going to knock it out of the park.
You guys will knock it out of the park. Ivan is a complete professional. Ivan and I were on the coaching staff for USTA back in the 90s. So we've had a great relationship, and now we find ourselves running pickleball tournaments, whereas before we were having to chase down Justin Gimbelstop, Jan Michael Gamble, and the Bryan brothers. Now we're chasing each other on the pickleball court.
So Ivan Barron, for the people that don't know, also lives in Delray Beach, a little bit further south of me, and also very professional, runs a great tournament, and that's who the person's going to be. Also a tennis player, right? Ivan's very seasoned tennis player.
Yeah. Ivan was a hell of a player. Played pro and has a very established career. And then just the main voice with the Delray Beach tennis, you know, championships, or the major ATP event. When I told him we were going to take those courts up there in Delray Beach and convert them to pickleball, he kind of had this look on his face. I said, "Don't worry, we're going to take your stadium and we're going to put it back to tennis." But you know, that's all good. But I'm really looking forward to that event in December at World Pickleball Open.
Yeah. So you touched on the Boca event, Ken. Why don't you tell everyone what that is? You know, as we wrap this up.
Well, the APP Masters, that's the road to Boca. So what we've done is we've taken everybody on a 20-month tour. We included the 4 months from the stops in 2019, and then this whole entire year here. That's our season-ending championships. And the reason why we're holding it in January is because December is just a crazy month with holidays and other predominant tournaments that we didn't want to, jump on anybody else's shoulders down there in South Florida. But we're excited to be going to Patch Reef Tennis Center. We will have 18 dedicated courts that we are going to convert over a mini stadium, and that's our season-ending championships. Pros and senior pros had to have played 4 tournaments during the last 20 months to be able to get into the tournament. And for your amateurs, you have had to have played in 2 events. So we're hoping to open up registration either later this week or early next week. We've got all of our lists compiled with who are the players that are eligible to play, and it'll be a special event. I'm actually doing that event with Carl Foster down there in South Florida, and he's a terrific ambassador of this sport, and we're excited about having the tournament.
Wonderful.
Carl runs a nice show. He's been around a long time as well.
I lived in Boca for 8 years. Matter of fact, I was married in Boca, and my daughter was born there. So it's always nice to
get out. That's your old stomping grounds.
Yeah, probably too many heading up to South Beach when I was in my early 30s. But now
very different now. Yeah,
much more calmer in the Midwest.
Carl will be here at the World Open. He'll be here. He'll be doing all his television. His television will be here, sure.
Yep, very true.
It looks like there's one more question before we close, Ken, and it's also from the Golden Boy. He wants to know your thoughts on the Major League Pickleball and how that might impact the sport going forward.
I think it's awesome. I've got a great relationship with that team down there in Austin. Major League Pickleball, again, it's another way to continue to grow the sport. I plan on being down there the first weekend in November to show support and be there to support them all. Everything is all good with it all, and it'll be exciting. I kind of envision this like a Billie Jean King World Team Tennis type thing, where they're going to have various weekends throughout the year and have it at different venues. But the team that is putting this event on, they're nothing but just class individuals, and I'm thankful that I've gotten to know them, and I've heard their vision of what they want to do, and it'll be exciting. It's exciting for pickleball.
Well, Ken, thank you so much for your time. You've been most gracious, and we appreciate all you've done for the sport and will continue to do.
Correct.
The APP Tour is just a wonderful tour, and I am, I've been blessed to play in a few events and look forward to Hilton Head and seeing some of the others online as you close out the year and head to Port St. Lucie and then to Boca.
Coach Mike, you said you had something on your text you were going to say. You've got me baffled. I don't know what it is.
Well, it was a story that I told about during the most recent tournament that they didn't know who you were, and you went on the court and you helped this young kid and you got him pickleball juice, and they also saw you carrying around iced tea, handing out already, which we started the show with in the very beginning. So I did share it with you.
All good.
That was it. Just another story of someone's integrity. I mean, like you said, some people have learned when you're the CEO or at the top and you run your company like this, you have a servant's heart. So I'm proud to know you. I want to thank you very much for your time, and get some sleep.
You bet. I'm just glad that wasn't some story from back in my younger days. So that's all good.
We'll have to hear about that one in Port St. Lucie.
Another show. Yeah. Thank you very much again for the show. Kenny, thank you so much.
Thanks, Ken. We appreciate you.
A lot of fun.
Have a great night.
Coach Mike, another great show.
Great guy.
Man.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many other people that are making really nice comments about him. And, like I said, there's always going to be someone that's going to find something wrong in anything or anybody. And then there's the people that say, focus on all the good, because he's doing a lot of good for the sport.
He absolutely is.
There's always going to be competition. Someone's going to see that what he does isn't the way it should be, and there's too much of this or not enough of that. But fact is, he's doing something, and he's contributing, and he's making a big difference in the sport. And he's probably right. In 20 years from now, he'll be a guy with a picture. Oh, yeah, that's the guy that started it. He'll be a Mr. Pritchard who started pickleball. He's changed the face of pickleball with these tours. You know that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm glad you got to spend time with him. You got to meet him, and that's super.
Well, Coach, another great guest next week. We will see you in 1 week.
Yes.
And appreciate everybody tuning in.
I have a question. It's been storming over on the West Coast, and because we can see it, have you been staying dry or are you getting soaked?
We had a nice morning to play pickleball, and then
Right.
this afternoon when I spent my time volunteering,
Yeah.
the clouds opened up. So
Storms again.
yes, sir.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot to do. I know that you volunteer your time, and I think everyone should be able to do something like that. So I appreciate your service heart, Jeffrey.
Hey, thank you. Well, Coach, if anyone needs to get in touch with you, your number's there. Why don't you give us your email one more time?
It's either Coach Mike. Actually, I just changed it. I'm sending an email to everybody. Michael at paddleuppickleball.com.
Perfect.
It's Michael at paddleuppickleball.com.
All right.
And there's some folks that can't come to Florida, and they've all been very, very happy. If you're not satisfied, you don't pay. So everyone's paid so far. Everyone's very satisfied with their coaching sessions.
That's great.
And I need to get you back on the court because I was watching you the other day on a video that somebody sent me. So there's just a little tweaking that needs to be done.
I think it's a lot of tweaking, but
okay. Well, listen, I'm being polite, but I saw that you hung out with Scott Moore, and I noticed that you're a little bit taller than Scott Moore and a little bit longer than Scott Moore. Obviously, he's a seasoned player, one of the best in the country, but there's little things that anybody can do to change their game, even just a little bit, and maybe just focus on one thing at a time, Jeff.
Fantastic.
Yeah. When are you coming to the East Coast? It's nice and sunny over here.
Yeah, right. We'll get over there sometime.
Okay, good. Thank you very much, Joe. Another great show, great guest. We have a lot more lined up, so it'll be a fun show. We'll learn a lot more about people in pickleball.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, have a great night, Jeff.
You too. Thanks
Signing
for tuning
out.
in, everybody.
Okay.